that theory can't explain all the exceptions. When it's only physical, it can't explain why in the most stressful events in the world, it doesn't create stress in people. There are now 600 research studies that show stressful events don't create stress in people. And that's what's being taught, that's what's believed, that's what everybody believes. People have believed that for centuries because they go, I feel stress. It's not being created. It has to be coming from something outside me. So let me see what's causing me stress. The World Trade Center, the planes hit the Trade Center, collapsed. Hundreds of people being affected. Afterwards, they interviewed tons of people. What did they find? It's fascinating. It was one of the most interesting shows I've ever seen was people who were inside the building who got out and then interviewed. One person they interview. When the building's shaking and falling apart, they dove under their desk and were paralyzed by fear and could not move. Now that's understandable, isn't it? That probably would have been me. I would have, oh my God. That's understandable. But there were also many, many, many people in that situation who didn't experience stress. They got calm. And that's often true in any crisis situation. You never know who's going to feel what or experience what in that kind of a situation. Many, 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 many people stayed calm. And not only that, there were some people that felt love and compassion, not calm, not fear, not paralysis, not anger. But all of those are possible because whatever we think we're going to experience, it's not good or bad. It's not saying you shouldn't experience anything. I get stressed, I get upset, I get all kinds of feelings, but it makes a difference when I know where it's coming from. I'm living in a thought-created experience. Because I have free will, I can keep thinking about something that comes into my mind, or I can let it go.
We're going to talk about free will a little bit later. For now, what also spikes my curiosity is, if we go with all those psychological phenomena, we can still explain it based on it being helpful to stay calm in times of trouble. I mean, just for pure survival, that just makes sense, So it would make sense that it is built in. If we go with that link between thoughts and experience, would we really need an underlying idealist I guess not. I'm not saying understanding, but would it really be necessary that at the essence all is consciousness for it to make sense to have, like, for example, psychotherapy modality like the rational emotive behavioral therapy? Like what it does, it posits that people have erroneous beliefs about situations they're involved in, and that these beliefs they cause disturbance but can be disputed and changed.
I used to spend hours every day writing down my thoughts, examining them, exploring the flaws in those, reframing them, recreating them, and it did make me feel better. But I was sleeping 4 hours a day and working on myself the rest of the time because I was doing reframing, I was doing affirmation. I had trained myself to wake up at the end of REM sleep. I had 5 full-length dreams I had to work on every night. All of these things, I was meditating 4 hours a day. All of those things were helping me. I had journals, unstructured journals, every day. I had my wife said, Dicken, I've never met anybody who works harder on themselves than you do. And I took it as a compliment. She said, basically, you're preoccupied constantly with yourself. I didn't understand that until later. I mean, the more education I had, the more thinking I did about what I could do to improve myself for my clients.
Right.
So I'm spending less and less time fully present.
So is that kind of the implication that makes a difference? That if we all are pure consciousness at essence, and if your universal mind, as Sid called it, we are already complete. So there isn't a necessity to improve anything about who we are.
The third principle is the principle of mind, which says there's a deeper intelligence built into the fabric of who we are and of life. So when I get quiet, wisdom may point me toward doing something that would look like self-improvement. I might say, write down what's on my mind. It might occur to me, but I'm not doing it as a technique that every day I would have to do that. It might occur to me to sit down quietly in a quiet meditative state, but it's no longer a technique. It's just occurring to me. I was teaching a meditation class when I started having insights into the principles. So I was teaching my meditation class techniques of letting go and opening up and being present.
Right.
And I'm teaching my clients the principles with no techniques. Just this is how we work. We think. We're either aware of that or we're not. We're connected to something that as we quiet down, that intelligence helps us with common sense, clarity, perspective, insight, intuition. Right? Just this is how we work.
How do you know that is true for everybody? Usually what kind of separates anecdotal evidence from something we know is through proving it.
I get asked that a lot. I understand
this
that
isn't
question.
provable, right, in essence?
I used to travel the world talking theoretical psychological theories. And everybody would argue with me because every culture, every society, every person has different beliefs, different ideas. So you can argue ideas. When I learned the principles, I traveled the world and I said, you think. You're a thinker. No argument. I've never... No, I'm not. I say, you have built into you awareness. No argument. Working with those engineers for years, they were trying to find something to argue with. The logic of this was too hard to argue with because it was true.
Now, I wonder about the third one, the being connected to something deeper, because I could imagine that some people would argue that in some sense.
You have, like how I would say to the engineers, your mind is capable of far greater things than we realize. And you have a potential for new thought, so that it's always possible to have a new thought about something. That's one way of talking about a deeper, formless intelligence, is the potential for new and fresh thought. Never found anybody that argued with that. Anywhere I went, in big companies, they love this because it helped people be less stressed, more present, enjoyed their work more. In a quieter, clearer mind, people communicate 10,000 times better when they're caught up in stressful or anxious thought. People caught up in stressful, anxious thoughts make lots of mistakes. People who begin to say, we need to think about this problem, but we can't just use the same old thinking to solve it. We got to come up with something new. And where a whole team of people sits back reflectively and go, what about this? What if we did this? What about this? You know that physicist I was telling you about, the 3-hand print guy? After he learned these principles and started keying in on our connection to a deeper intelligence that can bring new and fresh thinking, he went to the president of the company and said, give me your insolvable problems. My team will solve any problem you think is insolvable. This is the third largest defense contracting company in the world. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. They had problems they were trying to solve and resolve. And he was saying, my team can solve anything. He said, we'll lock ourselves into a room. You just send in food. We'll stay here. And we're a bunch of brilliant people who now not only have beautiful intellects to utilize, but we also have a trust in the capacity to generate new and fresh thinking. And we will use the combination of those two to solve any problem. This is very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
and he did. He would.
Yeah.
He said, give me a problem. A problem is just a potential waiting to reveal itself.
Yeah.